Ben, what's that light over there? There shouldn't be any lights. We're in the middle of bloody nowhere.
Well, it's certainly bright.
Ben, take cover! It's coming towards us!
Can't take cover, you idiot. I'm a bloody cripple.
Don't go towards the light! Oh my!
Here we go again.
In 2012, a group of US Marines on a mission deep in mountainous Afghanistan stumbled upon something incredible. A strange object, hidden deep within a cave. The Marines were clearing out insurgents when they came across a hidden chamber containing an unusual device. The object was described as being disc-shaped and metallic, with strange markings etched onto its surface. As the Marines tried to contact their base, a strange energy field enveloped the cave. It cut off all communication and trapped them inside. The Marines radioed for help, but their calls went unanswered. They were trapped, alone, with the mysterious device. When no contact was received from the Marines, a backup group arrived to check out what had happened to their colleagues. They didn't go as deep into the cave, but they saw the energy field. They saw the strange device. But there was no trace of their comrades. Based on the markings of the device, it was concluded that it was an ancient flying machine known as a Vimana, described in Sanskrit texts from around 1500 BC, known as the Vedas, religious Indian texts. The Vimana was said to have immense power, capable of travelling through the air, shooting lasers or atomic beams, and even manipulating time. The Vimanas were used by gods and kings to travel across the sky, the earth, and even space. The books also described in detail how to build these devices, how to operate them, how to maintain them, all about the weapons they used, which foods to carry, how to stock them for extended journeys. Even gave you details on how the engines performed and what engines to use depending on what medium you were travelling through. Because not only could they go through the air, they could go underwater and they could go into space. They used products like quicksilver, which we know as mercury, and another thing called Rama, which we do not understand. Their exploration of the text lists a series of different metals that are used to manufacture these devices. Yet, we don't know what these metals are. We have no knowledge of them. Military scientists that arrived at the scene concluded that the 8 soldiers had disappeared into a time well. A time well? Some kind of electromagnetic gravitic disturbance? Something that toyed with the laws of physics? Warped time and space as we know it? Akin to the famed Philadelphia experiment, where people not only were transported through space, but also time. Is that what happened to the 8 soldiers? Because we don't have any determination of where they ended up. Are they still out there somewhere? Are they somewhere in the future? Are they somewhere in the past? It's unlikely we'll ever know. Within weeks of these discoveries, world leaders that were involved in Afghanistan, President Obama of the United States, Prime Minister David Cameron of the United Kingdom, Nicolas Sarkozy of France, and the German Chancellor Angela Merkel, all made unannounced and surprise visits to Afghanistan. Sarkozy's was possibly the most surprising because he was already in India and then was suddenly picked up by a US military aircraft and taken into Afghanistan. These sudden visits raised eyebrows, and they did fuel speculation that they were related to the mysterious device that had been found. The whole incident was reported on Indian television, on actual news channels. TV5 reported it. NV7 reported it. These are real Indian news channels. The Marines eventually managed to get the Vimana out of the cave, and they were airlifting it towards Kabul on a Chinook helicopter, surrounded by a fleet of 4 or so Black Hawk helicopters. Everything was going along well until suddenly, just before they got to Kabul, a powerful energy wave from the Vimana obliterated all the helicopters, completely obliterated them, including the Chinook that was carrying it. Army later said there were no discernible remains. 38 people died in this helicopter crash, most of them special forces, some of them Afghan forces, and some of them private contractors? Or were they other than military contractors? Were they perhaps Secret Service, CIA, or maybe even scientists? At this point, the story goes quite cold on what happened to the Vimana thereafter. I suspect, though, if the military, the US military in particular, had anything else to do with it, it would turn up in that kind of warehouse situation that you saw at the end of the Indiana Jones movie. Or perhaps it's in Area 51 and people are looking at it as we speak. What caused the helicopters to crash? Was it the Vimana itself? Did it have an automatic defense mechanism that got triggered? Or did something go wrong with the helicopters? How much truth can we ascribe to this story?
You want answers?
I think I'm entitled.
You want answers?
I want the truth!
You can't handle the truth!
It's true that the Indian television news did report on it. It's true that many helicopters crash in Afghanistan. If Afghanistan is a mountainous region, you are fighting a war and you're fighting against the Taliban, who have usually Russian-supplied shoulder-mounted weapons that can take out helicopters and aircraft. So there were quite a stack of helicopter crashes while America spent 20-odd years in Afghanistan fighting the Taliban. This particular crash was down as a Chinook that killed 38 people. It killed special forces, which is unusual because special forces normally travel in smaller groups in smaller helicopters, like Black Hawks. It also killed civilian contractors. What about the strange unannounced visits by President Obama, by Prime Minister David Cameron, by President Sarkozy, by Chancellor Merkel? If you're going to visit a war zone and you're a head of state, it's unlikely that you're going to tell people that you're going to the war zone because you then make yourself a target. And you particularly would not give them timings. So you might say, I will be visiting Afghanistan at some point in the next 3 months. And then when you suddenly go there, it's a surprise. In fact, you probably wouldn't even say that you'll be visiting Afghanistan. You would just turn up and then it could be reported afterwards. Obama, Cameron, Merkel, they all visited again, and in different places and at different times. This is something that politicians do in an effort to keep themselves looking relevant to the public back home and possibly to boost morale of the troops that are serving in these wars. It's true that the texts of the Vedas, the Mahabharata, give very detailed explanations of Vimanas, what they did and what they're designed to do and how they work. If you look on the internet, you'll find detailed blueprints and plans and descriptions of the USS Enterprise, the one that Star Trek used to travel through space. And you'll find detailed descriptions of how it works, how the engines work, what speed it can do, the range it has, the amount of crew it carries, how it makes food, how it transports people up and down from planets, how many shuttlecraft it carries, how long its mission time is, what its weapons are. None of it's true. None of it. So we tell stories these days. What's to stop people 5,000-6,000 years ago telling the same kind of stories? Does it have to be real? As for the Vimana itself, there's no credible evidence to support the claim that the US Marines have it. There's no evidence to support that the US has it, or anyone, whether it be India or China. Nobody appears to have the Vimana, or no one is admitting to it. Is it possible that Vimanas could be real? There may be some basis in reality. There are pictures and paintings and descriptions of flying aircraft in scenes that otherwise don't merit the aircraft to be there. You see them in the background. Much as like today, we would take a photograph and there may be a plane in the background. They were just captured incidentally by the person making the painting. We do have UFO and UAP sightings that we can't conclude are not UFOs or UAPs. We even have military action against them For instance, like the Battle of Los Angeles in 1942, when the anti-aircraft gunners thought the Japanese were attacking, and then it turned out there was nothing there ultimately, but was there? Because the gunners swore blind that they were firing at something in the sky. Some of the information about this story allegedly comes from people that were there, from US Marines. From US Marines that served in Afghanistan and heard the stories. So they weren't there but had hearsay. Allegedly from whistleblowers who we don't know who they are. And also from leaks from a Soviet report to Vladimir Putin telling him what the Americans had found and what they were doing with it.
President Putin, we have intelligence that the US have found alien life in Afghanistan. Okay, that's why we left.
Again, we can't verify that. What do you think about Vimanas? Do you think they're real? Do you think the US found one in Afghanistan and took it probably to Area 51? Let us know in the comments below. Let us know if you liked the video. And please subscribe, because that boosts our channel and allows us to give you more of the same, if you like the same. If you want to be notified when we do the next one, hit that bell. The short opening scene was obviously a dramatisation and involves some footage from a movie made in 2008 called The Objective, in which a CIA-led special operations group finds some strange things in the Afghan mountains, ultimately leading to all their demise. Or does it? If you like this, there'll be more content, and there's some already there for you to look at in the past. Thanks for listening to this. Have a good one.